What if you have a day job and receive a W-2 from your employer, but you also have a business on the side? How should you have that business taxed? Should you keep that business taxed as a sole proprietorship, or should you elect to have it taxed as an S corporation? That's going to be the topic of this video. In a moment, I'm going to show you how the S corporation will cost you money when solely looking at the Social Security and Medicare tax savings, but actually save you money when looking at your entire tax liability, which includes federal and state income taxes. So it's important to consider your entire tax liability and not look at just one tax in isolation. If it's your first time watching, my name is Navi Miraj. I'm a certified public accountant that helps entrepreneurs save thousands of dollars in taxes. I do that by creating free content right here on social media, such as this video, and also through a comprehensive course, which is designed to convert business owners from knowing nothing about accounting and taxes and converting them into tax-savvy entrepreneurs who implement strategies that save them thousands of dollars each and every year. So if you're interested in learning more, you can click on the link within the description below, or even visit my website, which is navimirajcpa.com. Okay, let me show you what I prepared for you to kind of walk you through this so you can understand. What I've got here is several columns. The first column is just going to show you, hey, you have a W-2 job. It's a high-paying W-2 job at $160,200. I'm going to show you what taxes you pay, just Social Security, Medicare taxes, income taxes. Okay, then I'm going to show you what would happen if you didn't have a J job and you just had a sole proprietorship and you earned your money that way. What taxes do you pay? Then I'm going to show you as an S corporation, same sort of thing. What taxes do you pay when your business is taxed as an S corporation? But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the W-2 job and the sole proprietorship together, and then show you the W-2 job and the S corporation together. And you're going to see a dynamic that happens here that changes a lot of the numbers. And so you just need to be aware of this. And I'm also going to show you like the federal income and state income taxes and how that all changes too. But for now, let me kind of zip this up because I know this is a bit overwhelming. And so we'll just talk about the W-2 job, the sole proprietorship, and the S corporation. And then we'll add those things on once you have this sort of foundational understanding, okay? And you know, in case you're watching and you're kind of wondering, this is very common. You could be a physician doing some moonlighting on the side. You could be a W-2 employee at your day job and have a realtor or be a realtor on the side. You could be working in IT and doing some consulting work on the side, okay? So let's look at this situation here. We got a W-2 job. In this situation, if all we have is a W-2 job, we don't have a business, right? So we're gonna ignore this for now. Our salary from our W-2 job is $160,200. Why did I pick that amount? That's actually what's called the Social Security wage base. This is the 2023 tax number, but we'll come back to that in a moment. We're not an S corporation yet, so we're not going to worry about these items. We'll come to them later. So what taxes do you pay? Okay, so let's say your name is John. So John, at your day job where you earn a W-2, your employer is going to pay $160,200 times 6.2% to arrive at the amount of Social Security taxes you pay. What about Medicare taxes? You got to pay those too. It's the same kind of thing, $160,200 times 1.45%. That's the employer portion of Medicare. Now you have to do the exact same thing on the employee side, okay? So this is your employer. If you work at Google, this is what Google pays. But this right here, this is what comes out of your paycheck every time you get paid, right? You might see something like FICA tax withholding or Social Security and Medicare tax withholding. That's what this is. So you, as the employee, have to pay this, okay? So your total Social Security and Medicare taxes paid by you, the employee, is $12,255, all right? Now, let me show you what happens when you're a sole proprietorship making the same amount of money. Now, in order for you to make the same amount of money, you would actually have to have more revenue, right? So let's say you have $185,000 in revenue. That could be products that you sold or a service that you perform, and you earn this much money, okay? Then you have business expenses. This could include some tax strategies, but by business expenses, I mean you have like, you know, office supplies, some marketing expense, advertising, things like that. So this leaves you with $160,200 in profit. Now you don't have a salary from your W-2 job just yet. So it's just you operating as a sole proprietorship business with this amount of profit. And we don't have an S corporation yet. We're a sole proprietorship, so this doesn't apply. What taxes do you have to pay here? Well, at first glance, it looks just like it does over here on this side, right? But the difference is when you're a sole proprietorship, you're the employer and the employee. So you have to pay both sides of the Social Security and Medicare taxes. So it's the 160,200 times 6.2 times 1.45. That's the employer portion, and then the employee portion as well. So when you add it all up, it's $24,511. Now, if you're a tax preparer watching this video, I understand that there are some tax breaks that come alongside here, but I'm just kind of preparing this video for my average viewer who is a W-2 employee or has a small business on the side. So I'm not going to confuse them with the viewers with all that sort of nuanced stuff. Okay, so we don't have any like Social Security and Medicare tax savings yet, right? Because you're either a W-2 employee or a sole proprietor. So we don't really have an opportunity to save money yet. Now, that changes if we elect to have our small business taxed as an S corporation. So what's going on here? We have the same exact thing, right? We have $185,200 in revenue, $25,000 in expenses, but we have business profit of $160,200. What we do now, though, instead of having all of our income, like in this scenario, subject to Social Security and Medicare taxes, we have to pay ourselves some reasonable compensation. Okay, we do this by usually hiring a payroll company and running payroll, usually monthly, to get ourselves this wage for the year. Okay, so we're only paying Social Security and Medicare taxes on the $55,000. Who's paying this? Well, your S corporation is going to pay the employer portion, right? So 55,000 times 6.2% is this 3410. Same kind of math, 55,000 times 1.45 is the $798. Now, John, right? He's the employee of the S corporation. That's you. You're going to do the same thing. But again, you're paying it on the $55,000 and not the $160,200. So 55,000 times the 6.2, 3410, and 55,000 times the 1.45 is the $798. So when you add this all together, yes, your S corp pays this and you, the employee, pay this, but you're the business owner, right? So you pay all of it. So your total is $8,415. Now, if you look at this in isolation, you'll see like, okay, well, I was going to pay $24,511. Now I'm only paying $8,415. So I'm going to save roughly $16,000 in Social Security and Medicare taxes. And that's true. That's why the S corporation is such a powerful tax strategy, because you can, if you're a business owner, you like to have your business taxed this way, save a lot of money in Social Security and Medicare taxes. Now, what I want to show you next is, the purpose of this video is explaining to you what happens when you start to add some of these things together, where you have both, right? So again, there's that physician that's doing some moonlighting on the side, for example, okay? So we have a W-2 job and sort of a side business, and that side business is taxed as a sole proprietorship. So what do we have going on here? We have business revenue of $185,000, business expenses of $25,000 to give us $160,200, okay? But we also have this W-2 coming from our day job, okay? So what taxes do we have to pay? It's the same stuff here, right? Our W-2 job, I'm not gonna go through the math again, but you can see the employer pays Social Security and Medicare, and you, the employee, pays Social Security and Medicare. Again, the employer is paying this, so you don't have to worry about it. Your concern is this amount here. Your sole proprietorship, what happens here though is, unlike this scenario over here, you've already paid the wage base up to the wage base of Social Security. Like I said, in 2023, that's $160,200. So we don't have to pay any more into Social Security. So you don't have to pay that over here, and you don't have to pay it over here. You do still have to pay Medicare taxes, okay? So that's what this amount is. This is the amount you have to pay in Medicare taxes on your $160,200 in profit. So if we combine these items, right, that's this combined with this and this. If you look at my formula, that's what I've got going on here. We've got $16,901. So again, quick recap. You've got a W-2 job where you earn $160,200 at that W-2 job during the day. then you also have a side hustle, which is taxed as a sole proprietorship. You're earning $160,200 in that sort of side business. And so your total Social Security and Medicare taxes is $16,901. Now, what happens if we say, hey, I want to have, I see all these videos out here on the internet about the S corporation. And so I want to go ahead and make my business tax as an S corporation. So I'm not going to go over this column again because it's the same exact thing as this column, right? It's just a W-2 job, W-2 that we're receiving. But over here on the S corporation, we're splitting up that reasonable compensation and the other amount. I didn't highlight this before, but this is basically the amount that you can take out of the business as a distribution. Whether you take this money out of the business or keep it in the business, you're still going to pay income tax on it. What you don't pay is Social Security and Medicare taxes on this amount. The same thing applied over here when I was covering it on this side, okay? So what Social Security and Medicare taxes do we pay in this scenario? Well, again, this number is the same, okay? Now, again, we're only paying this amount because the employer, right? This is Google. If we're working at Google, Google's paying this. We, the employee, we're paying this. Now, our S corporation is going to pay the employer portion of Social Security and Medicare taxes, right? Quick reminder, that's $55,000 times 6.2% gets us this amount, the $3410, and then $55,000 times 1.45% gets us to $798. Now, we would, in actuality, have this Social Security tax withheld from our paycheck because you're paying yourself this $55,000 through payroll, and automatically they're going to withhold that money from your paycheck, but it's going to get refunded to you when you file your tax return. So it's really a net zero effect. So I didn't put anything there. You do still have to pay Medicare tax because unlike Social Security taxes, there's no wage base when it comes to Medicare taxes. In fact, when you start earning well over a certain amount, and again, you tax professionals out there who might be watching this video, you would have to pay what's called an additional Medicare tax, but I didn't want to kind of confuse the average viewer about all that stuff, okay? So we do have to pay this $798. So the total is $17,260, okay? Just to show you the formula, in case you're wondering, it's the total of all these numbers, okay? So you might be thinking, well, I don't want to do this because if I was just a sole proprietorship, I would be paying $16,901. Here I'm paying $17,260. So I'm actually in the hole $360. Well, in reality, you're in the hole even more than this because you have to pay someone to prepare your S corporation tax return, right? That could be $1,250. And you have to pay the payroll company to run payroll for you, which might be $500 to $600 a year, okay? So you got $2,000 plus in expenses. And so, you're in the hole alone by almost $2,500. So you might not want to go that route. But that's when I said at the beginning of the video, I said, if you look at this in isolation, you might think this is the bad move, right? We don't want to do this. Let's just stick to this scenario, right? Well, let's unpack this. We need to look at your total tax liability, not just the Social Security and Medicare tax. So I know there's a lot here that just sort of unfolded when I ungrouped this, but let's look at this. Your federal and income tax, right? At your day job. And in this scenario, I'm just assuming you're single, you're not married, and so you are in some high tax brackets here, okay? Similar effect would be occurring if you're married. So we've got $160,200 of wages. There's a standard deduction and all that stuff, but your federal income taxes will flow through the various tax brackets and you'd have to pay $28,524 in taxes, okay? A lot of that money would be withheld from your paycheck throughout the year. And when you file your tax return, you might owe a little bit or receive a refund, okay? State income tax, I just chose the state of Alabama because they have 5% flat income tax rate. If you don't have a state income tax, then you can zero out this column, or this row, I should say, altogether, right? You wouldn't worry about this. But 5% is about the average. If you're in a state like California or New York, could be closer to 13%. But again, this is just a 5% number. So state income tax, you're paying $5,854. Total taxes, $46,633. When I say total taxes, I mean your Social Security and Medicare taxes, which was your portion, the federal income tax, state income tax, and this is the total, okay? Again, if you have a sole proprietorship, the total is now $50,639 because you're paying both sides of the Social Security and Medicare tax, federal income tax, state income tax, and this is the total. You might be wondering, hey, why is the federal income tax so much lower? It's because of something called the qualified business income deduction, as well as you receive a what's called adjustment to income for paying some of these taxes up here. Again, didn't want to confuse you with all those little nuances. Just know that this is probably overstated by about $2,000. So it's probably about $48,639 and not this number here. But I didn't want to confuse you with all that math. Okay, S Corp. What's our total amount of taxes we have to pay here? Well, it's this amount, right? The federal income tax, state income tax, and so the total is $38,398. So we're still saving $12,241. So if we choose to have a W-2 job, or if our employer gives us the option to be an independent contractor, okay, that's not really practical, but it happens sometimes. $160,200 as a sole proprietorship. We're paying. Remember, I told you to discount this a little bit, $48,600 or so in taxes, so about $2,000 more. But if we do this, which is the S corporation, it's $38,398. So this could save us $12,241. Again, we still have some S corp tax prep fees and some payroll fees, but you get the idea. At least $10,000 in savings here. Now, what about the W-2 job and the sole proprietorship? How much tax do we have to pay here? A lot, okay? $106,705. Again, that's the Social Security and Medicare taxes, federal income tax, state income tax for a grand total of $106,705. And if we look at the W-2 job along with an S corporation here, our total tax liability is $100,742. So that's quite interesting, right? We were going to lose money if we went this route, if we just looked at the Social Security and Medicare tax savings. But when we look at the entire picture, the federal income tax, the state income tax, and the total, we see that we can still save almost $6,000 in taxes if we go this route. Now, again, we have some tax prep fees and some payroll fees, right? So maybe take off another $1,500 or so from this amount, but we still have $4,500 in tax savings, and that's significant enough to maybe go that route, okay? So I just wanted to show you how you need to be careful. You can't really go off of watching a YouTube video that explains this stuff. In my experience, when you have a W-2 job and you also have a business on the side, it makes sense to actually have a consult with a CPA. Doesn't have to be me, right? Just as long as someone that can understand the nuances of this and maybe even put the numbers in their tax software to see what it spits out for you. Because trying to do it on a spreadsheet or by yourself, just using a calculator, it's not going to work. There's all these nuances that come into play that will impact this number. A couple of things I wanted to mention that came up the last time I created a video like this was that wage base that I mentioned, $160,200, that's per individual, okay? So if you're married filing jointly, it doesn't matter. Your spouse has their own wage base that they need to hit, okay? So it doesn't matter if you're married filing jointly. That doesn't really affect this equation. Now, there are a lot of things you can do to reduce your taxable income, and I do that in my course. We can reduce your reasonable compensation. We could defer money into a solo 401k. Maybe we can establish a SEP IRA for you. Perhaps we can hire your minor children in the business or establish a board of directors that will really help you leverage deducting travel and meals and things like this. There's a bunch of tax strategies out there to lower these numbers, but I only have limited time with you when I do these YouTube videos. I encourage you to join the students in my course who are saving thousands of dollars in taxes. They're not just doing that one time, right? They're saving that amount of taxes each and every year. Again, the link is in the description below. If I don't see you in the course, I'll see you in the next video.